the ride out of Dennegung was successful enough. The path to Rootridge from there is short and easy to navigate, so I'm writing this journal entry about midday as I'm preparing to leave Rootridge, since there's still travel hours left in the day. Most of the morning was spent here, looking around, rather than getting to here. I just hope Jodie didn't get too used to trotting on paths, the poor old girl, considering what's coming up soon for her. I should clarify, since as well as the personal entries I've sort of been collecting information in this journal. Rootridge is a town just north of the Inontoy Desert. You don't generally stay nights here, unless you're wanting to cozy up in the back of the cart with enough company around that thieving's unlikely. The only people that really sleep in Rootridge are the permanent residents, and it's not very often that a new house is put up. There's a couple of stores, but most of the other services are more aimed at the people that stay here, and, that's generally confined to just a small number of families and their descendants. The town of Rootridge, being right between Stackerin City, Oyapo and Roscove City, is used as something of a transit hub by the general people, the people that don't live there. People come here either looking to join up with a cart or looking for people to join up with their cart, and nothing really else stops anyone on their way through Rootridge. I came here for the second one, looking for a group of people to join me on my first official expedition through Karralan, which will be a simple off-road trip to the Malkinot Hills, looking to collect some Kruger's rock for future supply trading. Unfortunately, to put it frankly, Rootridge is kind of a hit-or-miss town. Sure, you might find plenty of researchers willing to pay to tag along on your trip. Plenty of cooks what don't have a home and want a place to sleep. Plenty of navigators looking to make a living. But you also get the runaways and the weirdos. The kids that'll get 2 days in and ask to turn around because they've changed their minds, and your only options are to do so, or carry on with the dead weight, or dump them and leave them for dead. Those sort of folks that don't actually have the spirit. They're just in love with the idea. You get some of the people looking to provide extra protection on a trailblazing journey, where, the wildlife can be a problem. And that's fair enough, but a lot of them have the attitude of horse dung. The fact is, it may be plenty possible for a good and qualified person to be on their own, and looking for some people to fill the spots they can't fill themselves. But take any group of the people that are on their own, and I guarantee you 9/10 of them are on their own for a damn good reason, being that no good group can stand them. Anyway, I ended up finding a good enough travelling partner in the end, or so I think. Suppose I'll find out in the hills. But I'm also right pissed off, and Rootridge is a shite old town, so I'm mainly looking to have a short rant about the folks I ran into while my new best friend is occupied. I'll also add that my pride had to take a bit of a hit, because I needed to stop introducing myself as Elizabeth Goldsmith first, and start introducing myself as skilled cartographer, survivalist, and navigator first, for the sake of proper communication. So, as useful as it can be once every 20 years or so, I really would not mind at all if one day I found out that this dump of a town burned to the ground. First man I met was Philip Cabret from Alpahan City. He introduced himself to me as a surgeon, and was one of the sort who's wanting to pay to join up on a cart trip. You get folks looking to pay, looking to get paid, and looking to just split the supply costs and leave it there in Rootridge. And for such a short expedition, being paid sounded like a pretty good deal. Especially since having a surgeon could be useful in a pinch, and at worst, it was just another mouth to feed that gave me money. What he did not tell me in his little introduction, and what I would not have found out if not for a lunch break confrontation in town, is that the reason he wants to travel is that he wants to be a playwright and has no motivation. And that the last caravan he was with dumped him off here when his pocket ran out of money. and that he'd be paying me after becoming a huge success in the Alpahan theatre circuit, and that he wants to be a playwright because he is no longer qualified to be a surgeon, and just about killed one of the people in his last crew while trying to clean cackler sap from their shoulder. So, about a half hour after he was in, old mate was out again. You cannot trust a thing anybody in Rootridge ever tells you, and if you do, you're a damned fool. Next fellow, the second fellow, this was before lunch, and while Cabret was still following me around as part of the crew, I met this other man, Deppy Trinket, musician. Yeah, so beholden to the art form is Deppy Trinket, that he doesn't even ask for payment to play his music. No sir, just food and a tent to sleep under as he soothes us on our travels is all he asks. My ass. The man's voice sounds like a donkey's laugh, and his guitar sounds like hell's own torture device. I wouldn't be surprised if I found out he would have turned down a yes, and he was just in Rootridge for a laugh, for a story to tell to his friends for a laugh. One lady challenged me to a push-up competition. Winner takes my cart. What? One bloke tried to convince me that I was holding his lunch when I'd just gotten it out from my own bag. And he nearly succeeded because his face was so straight and... there was a lady, and I'm not making this up, she was just in my cart when I got back from lunch after telling Cabret where to shove it. Just in my cart. Sitting on the edge of the back, swinging her legs. If Jody wasn't out tied to the front, I'd have thought it wasn't my cart at all, but no, it's mine. So I woke up and I ask her, I say, "What are you doing? What are you doing in my cart? Get out." And she looks at me. She looks me dead in the eye. Sweet old smile on her face. This lady's in her late 80s, most likely, by the way. She looks me dead in the eye. And she asks me, she's like, "When are we leaving?" Like, I don't even know. What was her plan? Was she just hoping did you really think I'd just go along with it? But just like socially bound to not be rude, and I feel like she might have, been the sort to like put a curse on me if I was rude or something. So I just politely told her to leave, and she did. And she jumped off the cart and hobbled off, still smiling. She didn't say a word after that. So I think I'm safe. Not the curses are real, but what's the point in risking it when you're already in a dump like Rootridge? You don't want it to get worse. Okay. Right. So anyway, just as I'm checking the back of my cart to make sure she didn't make off with anything, which she didn't, almost makes it worse, I'm about to consider just scrapping the first expedition plan and signing up with the Amtrak's caravan company for a quick bit of supply money, escorting a few carts full of steel to Niforex. And this guy walks up to me and, spoiler, this is the guy I'm going to be traveling to the Malkinod Hills with over the next few days. First of all, Jody liked him, which is a big plus already. Jody hates Rootridge as much as I do, so this guy's, going to be extra good for her to push that aside and brush up against him as he walked up to my cart. Second, when we were talking, it turns out that he's something of a botanist and a petrologist himself, and not a half-bad navigator. But that's if we're trusting the word of somebody met in Rootridge. The botany and petrology part I had improved by asking questions, since I know the right ones to ask, and fingers crossed on the navigator part. Third, more selfish, he knew the name Goldsmith. Not even just knew it when it came up, because by this point I was done with leading with it. He got all excited, even. It's always good when finding companions in Rootridge to get a feel like the other person's sizing you up as well, not selling themselves so much as trying to figure out if it'll be mutually beneficial. And this fellow was doing that. But once he heard the name Goldsmith, without even needing any explanation to come from me, he was dead set on travelling with me if he could help it. That rush to the old ego probably helped his case quite a bit, since I've honestly never been recognized like that before, yet. But the most important reason of all to his case, and the sole factor which makes him a million times better than everybody else in this dump of a town, so long as he doesn't kill me halfway through our trip, is that he doesn't talk. I don't know if he can't or won't, but everything he said to me, he said by writing in this little notebook he carries with him. He's got a few spares, so I don't need to worry about him running out of space anytime soon. He also has some of the front pages dedicated to common words or phrases, ready to be flicked to, so it doesn't take too long every time he needs to say something often. Somehow, it's so much easier for a person to not be annoying when they just don't talk. Though, I am sort of curious as to why. He doesn't really seem like the monk sort. But it works well for me. When I asked what his name was, since he was so hyped up on mine, he just shook his head. So I'm gonna have to figure out something to call him later. Right now, while I'm writing this, he's tying a bunch of dusk stones to the outside of the cart, securing them with rope. Something about not wanting to lose track of the cart at night time, I guess. But even this long wait for something that I'd call a small case of paranoia is less annoying when it's expressed through handwriting. Anyway, it'll let me cool off about this crap hole of a town before we head out of it for the rest of the day and make camp somewhere along the travel. So I guess it wasn't all that bad after all. He offered to take the reins for the first part of the trip, but I don't quite know him like that to let him be handling Jody, no matter how much he likes him, so he'll be sitting in the back of the cart for the journey. Maybe if he turns out trustworthy, I might even be able to scam him into sorting through some of the old Goldsmith notes for me, eh? I've said just about all that I'm going to say now without rambling on. I'll report back when there's news on the two of us' expedition, so long as he doesn't knife me while I'm napping. I'll see you soon, Journal. And when I do, I'll be in a much better place.